Okay. Hi, Pooja. So, welcome to our podcast, first of all, our Samskara podcast. So, it has been like a long new podcast that I wanted to shoot about climate change and, the repercussions that it comes with. Yeah, and then I found you. So, I thought like you would be a suitable person to answer my queries, answer my questions, and also like the questions and doubts that our viewers might have. So first of all, like I would like to know about like what are the repercussions that our country might face due to the climate change that is ongoing in today's generation, especially.
Thank you, Miss Many, for having me. Uh, and the question that you put across is a very important question which a lot of us try to figure out. But uh, unfortunately, now I even not, need not to answer this. We can see the repercussions of climate change all around us. I still remember, like, some uh, 10 years back, there was this big debate when a politician said that uh, climate change is nothing but a big taboo that we scientists are creating. And a lot of back and forth happened at that time. Because at that time, people were not able to understand that what is happening around them. But now, just just look around yourself. Last 2 years have been the hottest ever years in the history, and especially people who are living in north can see the changes like anything. This year, Delhi touched a temperature of 52 degrees. 52 degrees, which is like inhabitable for humans. If this trend continues, I'm pretty sure what we were fearing 10 years back, it is going to happen very soon. And it's not just about these extreme weather conditions that are coming with climate change. It is even more deeper than this. It is intrigue. Our health is getting affected. Our life longevity is getting affected. You know, uh, if this trend continues, and I I just hope we figure this situation out. And with we I mean all of us, because it cannot happen by one person. Now it's beyond the limit where only scientists or government can work on it. Now everyone needs to act in this thing. Only then we can expect some serious changes, because now it's not only the heat wave or the cold waves. It is accumulation of everything, starting from our glaciers in high Himalayas to our coastal regions, Mumbai for that matter. Have you ever thought that the kind of rains that are happening in Mumbai right now? Uh, I cannot even imagine, because I was there like some 8 years back. I was not even able to think that in October, like it's near October, this kind of rains will be happening. Like it was never seen prior to that. The monsoon season in Mumbai have strictly been from June, July, and August. Max September. Now we have crossed September, and then the kind of rains that are happening. So now we are beyond that point when I or anyone have to talk about the repercussions of climate change, because now it's inevitable. Now it's in front of our eyes, and even now, if someone have to think about it, that what are the repercussions, trust me, then that person has either shut their eyes to the extent that they are not ready to see what is in front of them, or that person maybe might not in a stable state of mind. So those are the only states where we can ignore the repercussions that are happening.
Yeah, exactly. But still, do you think that this kind of conversations are not happening day to day, especially in a group of friends, like amidst the group of friends or with our relatives or any such close people that we talk? We talk about everything, every other thing, other than climate condition and environment.
Totally true. And even a bigger forum we are missing in the question that you just put across is these type of conversations are not happening even at the policy levels. Not how many of us have asked our democratically selected leaders that what are we doing for climate change, how we are going to face it. It is in front of us. We are seeing the impacts in our day-to-day lives. Our lives are getting affected with it, and we are going to be, because our the steps that are needed to be taken are missing. We are not, and that is a very relevant point to your question. Uh, Sometimes when the problem is such big now, we come to a state of inaction. That what can we do about it? And I think that's what we have been doing about this big issue, because climate change is a very big issue when we start to understand it, that everything that we are doing is affecting it. So and then everything that everyone is doing is affecting it. So we start to feel that what can I do individually, what can be my contribution, ek akila insaan kya karega. That mindset need to be changed. And trust me when I say it that we all are getting affected. It is beyond only the climatic condition that are changing or the weather patterns that are changing. A lot of disease that we are seeing right now are because of climate change. Uh, a recent study that actually shook me is about domestic violence on females. Because of these extreme weather climates, women face more and more domestic violence and even mental violence against themselves. They are more vulnerable than the other gender. So the kind of impact is beyond what we can think of. And these conversations need to be mainstream among us, among a bigger group, and especially among the policymakers. We need to ask our leaders that what are we doing? What are the policies we are making? What is the next step? How we are going to face this? How we going to improve these things? So those are the bigger conversation that need to happen immediately and consistently till the point we reach to the stage that we have some solution in our
Also, like I think that on educational level, there has to be made a lot of change, especially our education system needs to change. It's high time. Firstly, like I think on educational level, these topics should be taught to the children, not just because of the curriculum or anything, just for the sake of knowing, for the knowledge sake. It should be made compulsory for all the children to be taught these kind of topics, first of all. And because these children are the future of our country, first of all. So education should be made compulsory on this topic. So you think of the same?
total Totally, I totally agree to what you're saying. Yes, uh, it needs to be a very integral part of education and not just like the conventional education system. I'll say we need to change, and the good thing is new education policy has a lot of those structures in place that needs to be done. But the issue is that our education system is not accepting it. Our education system is not taking it inside it and grasping it the way it should have. Because the education system that we are having from decades now has been with a mindset of putting things a certain way, that a kid should behave this way. Uh, a kid should in a class a kid should be not crying, not laughing, not talking, just sitting straight, looking at the board, listening to teacher, and mugging up everything that is being taught.
Yeah.
We are killing the creativity of the kids. And these questions needs to come through kids even more than us. Trust me
Yeah.
when I say it, because um, that is a very intriguing term. Maybe maybe a big term for people who are not aware about it, but I'm still going to say it because I really want people to start understanding what it is. So there is a term called intergenerational equity. Uh, it if I bifurcate it and kind of simplify it, it means that uh, in anything, and specifically for climate change, if I'll say, uh, and all these climate crises, they are affecting these younger generation way more than the older generation. Because if I have to put it across in very simple words, it will be like the person who is already in their 60s have already lived their life in a more healthier environment, and a very big chunk of that life, and the life that is left is also very lesser than the person who is in their 20s right now. And the worst are the kids who are just coming to their teenagers, or even taking birth right now, because
Yeah.
they have to live a major chunk of their lives with this ecosystem, which is right now, which is there is a lot of air pollution, there is the water they will be drinking will be polluted with microplastics and whatnot. The food they will be eating will not be as healthier as the older generation have taken. Uh, I don't want to talk about even milk, because a, a very big percentage of the kids who are uh, like taking birth right now have lactose intolerance. A thing that like our senior generation might not even have thought of. That is it even possible? Being in India, someone can be lactose intolerant. Like if I would have said something like that to my mom would have simply slapped me. कि दूध नहीं पीना है, इसलिए बहाने बना रहे हो. But
Yeah.
like things like that, it was a mindset like that. It was always like that we never had those issues with us, but now we do. So these generations are way more affected than you and me, and then elder generations have the effect even lesser than us. So we are at that intermediate point where we actually need to start talking about these issues. That what about our next generation? What about our kids? What are we living for them, other than the polluted air and water and all resources that we have deprived them of?
Exactly. And I think on that note, Gen Zs are a little bit more sensitive and they are working towards the environment than the previous generation. I have seen that because, of course, because of the exposure of social media, things have been quite well on the ground of like maintaining our environment surroundings. Because now, even if you want to make your surroundings dirty by just throwing out garbage in the road or something, someone will make a video and they will post it in the Instagram or Facebook. So I think that fear has come in most of the people. They are kind of fearful now, but still, I would think that the consciousness and the seriousness of the matter hasn't come. But still, I would say the Gen Z generation are working towards it effectively. Yeah.
Yes. Luckily, comparatively from the older generation, Gen Zs are having more knowledge, and that is acting in their favor. They they are taking a lot of, like, even I from this I'm working in the space of climate, so I know that one, there is a curiosity to understand that what is happening, and how are we getting affected, because they are being affected directly, and they are accepting that fact. And that's why this curiosity is coming to understand more and more. Uh, I I recently attended a conference where a lot of youth delegation, so most of them were Gen Zs, uh, other than few of us millennials. So yeah, uh, and I really love the kind of energy I see in those people. I see that they are really uh, one very hopeful. I don't know how, because I am not looking at all the things that are happening around us, and the state of inaction that everyone is. I I am a pessimistic person right now, but I feel that they, especially Gen Z, they want more clarity. They are very curious. They are hopeful. They have a lot of positive energy. So I really want them to get engaged in these conversations, because they can be really the change makers that we need right now. They can
Yeah.
be the torch bearers of these conversations.
And also, like, if they come into system, then that would be really nice to see, like, what kind of changes they are going to make if they come into power. Like, I'm not just talking about politics,
Yes,
but if whatever they achieve, like the power bearer or like the position that the top 1% of the people are controlling over the world, in that
I
position.
say I say talk about the politics.
Yeah,
It is very much needed.
very much needed.
Because the thing is, in our general conversations, we avoid this thing
Mm.
that we don't want to talk about it. No, talk about it. It needs to be talked. It needs to be sent to the right people. The people who are sitting in the parliament need to make those legislations, because one thing is, you and me talking can bring some change. Yes, it does. A small amount of change. But the kind of change those policies and regulations can make, we can never make that. So that these conversation needs to be talked among us, so that it finally reaches to them.
Hmm. Exactly. So you have been working into this climate and environment preservation for quite a long time, right? So, firstly, like you have been like closely seeing or watching the kind of policies that are coming or the decision making that the government is enduring at the moment. So, would you like to say few advantages or like few policies or decision making that the government has taken, which really help to, enhance the climatic conditions of our country, and few policies that or plans or decision making that you would like to recommend in order to change the scenario?
Uh, Very interesting question. And to correct you a bit, frankly, I have not been working in particular in the space of climate for very long. I have been working in different areas prior to this. Climate is kind of little new to me. I have started working like in past 1.5 year around this area. Uh, but even in the smaller time frame, I have been able to understand a lot of intricacies, because I have been active among other groups in other areas, and especially through my volunteering activities. Uh, I feel uh, in India, if I have to like certainly look back, and so there, if we look at how old these policies are, how when it started, I'll say it goes as old as like 1970s. Can you believe our solar first few developments happened in early 1970s, when during that period? So all this energy transition and these conversations started at that particular time. We have institutions like TERI, for that matter, which are working in this area for 50 years now. They are just celebrating their 50 years, and other think tanks who have been working in this area for very, very long time. There are regulations that started at the similar time and uh, uh, but the issue is about reaching these policies to the base level. These policies are made, but what about implementation?
Hmm.
How much implementation has happened? That needs to be regulated. That needs to be thought of.
Hmm.
Uh, I'll say if I look in terms of momentum, that when the momentum started, so particularly in the year 2015, when this Paris Agreement happened, that was actually the time. There have been few other uh, times earlier also when the momentum take off. But 2015 was the time when actually for Paris Agreement all the countries come together and sign this agreement, and that was a turning point. So that was also a turning point for India also, because India was also one of the signatory in that agreement, and that's when all these regulations and policy conversations started and take off for India. So a lot of momentum in the renewable space for energy, a lot of momentum for environment conservation, and not only about conservation, the very much needed policies around adaptation, mitigation, that climate crises are happening, how we are adapting to it, what are we doing as different communities to adapt to those crises, what are we doing to mitigate those crises, how we are going to do it. So a lot of policies which are very much needed for current scenario started to formulate during that time. The recent ones, and that I really feel government should work on, is our NDCs, which are nationally determined contributions. India has set some really nice NDCs, but I feel a lot can be done in those areas, because we have missed few very key elements, like the one we just talked, implementing this into the education system, the grassroots level, including the indigenous knowledges that our country have. So, if we look in our country, luckily we have been very blessed with the knowledge per se. People are not able to understand that knowledge that and decode those scriptures. That's why we feel that, oh, this is not relevant. But we have some really life-changing examples where the local communities have tackled climate change like anything. So putting that knowledge along with the scientific progress that we are making is very much needed for a successful implementation of climate adaptation and mitigation policies. NDCs can be a very good turning point where if we set a little step for NDCs for our own country, for our own benefit, I think people would take it more seriously. And with people, I mean the implementation, the people who are implementing all these policies at different levels. Uh, Unluckily, till now, all these conversations are not penetrating to the lower levels, to the
General
district
public.
levels, to the state levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point where it needs to be reached. And also, our NAPs are again very interesting regulations that our country is forming right now. So a lot is happening in the policy space, but a lot can happen more and more.
Also, to add this point that the things and everything are not coming up to the general public of our country. The one reason I would like to highlight is like most of the people in our country comes from middle class or lower middle class background. And the main problem is that always 24/7 in their head, the one thing strikes to them, that's to make money, to, to secure their basic needs. So to think about climate and climatic crisis and about environment, they don't, I think they firstly don't get the knowledge because they are so much exposed to like the livelihood, making the livelihood for their family and to just manage their expenses and the basic needs, that they are unable to like think once about the climatic condition and what is happening around them. I think the HNI people get that more better. I think these people should more focus on building up a better environment and imparting this education to the other general public rather than like them, because it's little bit difficult. But I think, yeah, as I said, like if on educational level these things would be made on a regular conversation would happen. So I think the children needs to get the knowledge first, then they would come up to the adults and the other people in the general public.
Okay. So I don't totally agree to your statement because, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you the reason for it. But I totally agree to one point, not for the same reasons, but for very different reasons. The people who are living uh, from little luxurious life, I'll say those are the major contributors to the pollution that we are seeing right now, to the emissions that we are seeing right now. Unluckily, 85% of the emissions is caused by the 15% of the people. And
Yeah.
those people belong to those high income groups.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, but coming to the middle class, yes, our focus is earning more money and keep our livelihood going. But do you know how much the climate change is affecting even that particular part of it? The issue is we are not understanding that how intrigued both these systems are. Uh, okay, just to give you the same example, in Mumbai, uh, I think schools, colleges, offices were closed for 2 days because of these rains, just like
Yeah.
yesterday and day before yesterday, right?
Correct. Hmm.
How much money we have lost during that time? And with money, I mean the commercial space, the all these local vendors, all these small holders, all these lower class people who are like going to a sabji mandi selling their veggies, or doing all these small works, they have been stopped, right?
Hmm.
So the kind of impact these climate crises have is way more than what are we thinking right now. It is impacting at all levels. It is impacting middle class more than we think it is affecting higher class. And with middle class, I'm not talking about upper middle class because they can afford like a lot of services. But let's say we talk about extreme weather climates, heat waves, extreme heat waves. Who are most affected by those extreme heat waves? Of course, the people who are living on the street are the worst, are the most vulnerable one. Then came the people who are living in huts. Then came the people who are living in the kacha houses. Then came the people who are living in pakka houses but don't have like proper cooling systems. And then came the people who live in a like a decent thing but don't have ACs. Above that, people have ACs and they are gonna switch on their ACs and they will be like saying it, oh my god, it's so hot out, oh my god, it's so hot out. But they are sitting in ACs. The effect they are facing is way less than the people lower than that. So it is affecting those people way more than the people who are living in higher income group. And that's why they should be the one who should be talking about it more. Like if I am in a higher income group, why should I be going out and protesting against it? I'm okay. I'll switch one AC or two ACs for that matter. I'll change my AC to one what is a tonnage thing, 1 ton to like
Yeah.
1.5 tons or 2 tons. Simple. For me, it is just additional cost, but for them, it is about their life. And you know the kind of death tolls that we see during extreme summers and extreme winters, how many, like, just look around ourselves, we say अरे होता ही है, but नहीं होता है. It is because of these extreme climates that our systems are not accepting it. The kind of heart attacks, the kind of heart disease that we are seeing, everything is interconnected. Everything is connected with these polluted airs and extreme weather crisis that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, we
And
can
we
see
are
like,
affected by it more, the lower income.
yeah, and also like the lifespan of a person had reduced to 50 to 40, like 40 to 50, basically. So that's like
Oh, it has reduced to drastic levels. The
drastic
lifespan,
level.
if we, the longevity of life have reduced by almost 10 to 15 years now.
Also, like I
So,
don't like one thing about the tier one cities because like I just moved to Mumbai. Of course, it has a lot of opportunities other than the tier two or tier three cities or the villages. But one thing I'm not really a fan of that, first of all, the crowd and the condition of the transportation. How much you just say, it has opportunities and, there are so much of infrastructure, good infrastructure that is building up. But the thing is that the regulation of population should be a thing that needs to be kept in mind of the government. I think I have heard about Tokyo something that government is paying a few, salary or something, sum of money to the people to just move out of Tokyo and settle to some other place. So that's the kind of concentration that the government should little bit focus on. I think overcrowdedness and overpopulation to a certain city or a certain place is also a matter that needs to be focused on, which is not again talked so much about, right?
true, I agree. Like I said earlier, also, everything is interconnected. Nothing is happening in isolation. So, overpopulation leads to overconsumption, and overconsumption lead to resource deficiency.
Yeah.
And to get more and more resources, we started these unethical ways of doing work and deteriorating our planet more and more. Why today we talk about that there are so many industries and the industrial uh, in, emissions are impacting global climate change patterns.
Yeah.
Of course they do, but it is the overconsumption, overproduction of the goods that are demanded in the market right now that are affecting the overall ecosystem. And where it is all starting? At the root cause of overpopulation. So everything is interconnected. It happens in steps. It cannot happen in isolation. And the issue is the solution is also needs to be in the step too. I cannot say that I will be able to tackle climate change. I will be able to reduce carbon emissions without helping the core problem of overpopulation. Never. It is not even possible. If we'll continue to grow at the same pace as we are growing right now, how we are thinking of providing resources to our coming generations.
So Pooja, a few climatic crises that occurred this year was first of all the Assam flood. It's not just the matter of this year that the flood has occurred, but every monsoon we can see the floods and the crisis that comes up with that. Firstly, the reason of the flood occurrence in Assam is because of the vast network of the rivers, and the only way to regulate it to build dams and to build flood walls. I think the flood walls that were made before are not in a very good condition there. I think the sole ownership should be taken by the government to construct it newly, build it in a more better way with the latest technologies that we have. And that would be one of the solutions to it. Other than that, I feel like the overpopulation had also significantly made this kind of emergence of the crisis. So, do you think like what are the other things that one can do in order to ensure that the climatic conditions and the flood conditions are regulated over there?
You touched on a very nice point. Uh, Assam, one is the geographical location of the state because of the Brahmaputra River in the premises. The water levels are like higher. Uh, and the second very important aspect of it is like these sudden changes in the weather patterns, where a lot of rain is happening uh, in a very short span of time. If we'll see, look, there is one major reason. Actually, there are two. I'll come to the third one also. uh, Other than the geographical location, which no one can change, which is natural. Uh, One is so if you will see that in last few years, what is happening is either there is no rain, or if there is a rain, there is like a very heavy amount of water coming in a very less time. So we see these repeated cases of cloudbursts. Basically, clouds are carrying somewhat like 500 tons to millions of tons of water within within themselves. And uh, earlier, what was happening, this rain was coming like in the form of showers and slowly, so that there is a gradual increase of water in a particular area. And then the local ecosystem, the drainage system that has been created to take that rain, to support and send the water to the ground level for the recharge or for the facility that has been created. But due to this shift in weather patterns and climate patterns, uh, this quantity of rain has increased drastically. So now a lot of water is coming, and the system that has been created to hold that water is not effective. And the third major cause of this is uh, you you rightly said overpopulation. And what is the actual impact of overpopulation? A lot of this population has started to live in the floodplains of the rivers. So Brahmaputra is there, then the river is there, then there are floodplains of the river which are generally kept vacant for this time of the year only, that if the water in the river increases, it can accumulate that water, and it shouldn't affect the lives of the people who are living at the vicinity of that river. So generally they need to live little far from the river, beyond the floodplains. But because of this overpopulation, a lot of people have started to move and make these buildings within the floodplains. Now, in summer, when the water is less in the river, they are pretty safe. There is no issue. But in monsoon, when the rains start to happen, and especially these sudden rains with heavy amount of waters, all the dams and all the structures that have been created are not going to help. Ultimately, that water have to flow, and when that water flows, it affects all the surrounding areas. And unluckily, we have not even thought about that how to look into these matters, because now some floods are happening every year and they are affecting millions of people every year. But still, uh, I don't know how much we are doing. I'm sure we are not doing enough for sure. And again, I said a very important term earlier also, indigenous knowledge. If we see even in Assam, the the houses that are made with those bamboo sticks, the older houses, they are more resilient even to the flood right now. And the buildings that are newly constructed in brick and mortar structures are not able to handle those kind of prices, even though they are the new ones. They have been constructed in the last 5 to 10 years. But what the ancestors created years
Yeah.
back is more resilient right now.
That's why they say,
So that
whatever, the ancestors say, you should first listen. And then sometimes if you think that
yes,
is correct, then you should implement that. So of course
totally.
that's correct. That's definitely what I also have been thinking about, that the houses construction, especially in the lower part of Assam, needs to again made in the same manner that the ancestors used to make. I think in the upper part of Assam they get little bit better the flood conditions and everything, because the terrain and the range, the mountain ranges are not found in the upper part. It's mainly found in the lower part of Assam, especially in Guwahati side. So the flood conditions are worse there. And of course, as you mentioned, that most of the people are residing now in the riverside.
Yes.
Because of like they also, like most of the people in Guwahati, you would see the Kamakhya temple when you go into that mountain. All of the it has just got like so much crowd now. When I mean our parents used to visit there 10 years back, let's say, there used to be very less people around there. But of course, the construction was needed because a lot of people go there. Even if there wouldn't have been a good road construction, then most of the people would have found it difficult to visit Kamakhya temple. But I'm just saying about the houses that have been made in that hill has just worsened the conditions. And also other parts of Guwahati where the mountains are just cut and the climatic situations have been just worsened there because
This
of
is
that.
actually the reason why a lot of like these environmental activists are talking about putting a restriction on tourism. Sona want to, like, I follow him very closely, and I'm sure like a lot of us have been seeing him protesting for Ladakh for very similar reasons, because that's a delicate ecosystem. And uh, Himalayas are our main source of water to the whole, I'll say, subcontinent. So we need to nurture that system. And tourism, especially unplanned tourism, is killing it like anything. Be it Kamakhya, be it Ladakh, be it Kashmir, be it any particular part of our country that have a delicate ecosystem needs to be taken care of very critically. Uttarakhand, I remember, so I was there like last to last year for I went on a speaker trip. I was coming back, and then this Monday landslide happened. I was stuck in that landslide, and I realized that on our way there have been more than 40 tunnels that are being dug in those mountains even at that time. So everything is again getting affected by something else. It is being triggered by those heavy digging and cutting of mountains. And then ultimately, it's us, the humans, who are getting affected by it the most. But still, I don't know. I say it all the time that it's the human greed that is causing all this, and it needs to stop. We need to rethink our choices like every time we are making a choice.
Yeah, and I think with this conversation, one thing I have drawn out is that the main problem is overpopulation and the concentration of population, which is uneven. So, firstly, we need to regulate that. I think my video quality is just, yeah.
Yeah, there is.
So, I was just telling about the conclusion that I had just drawn out with this podcast. Firstly, like, how can we really regulate the climatic condition is firstly the overpopulation thing. We have to work on that. Like we have to really control the population, how much, no matter how much we say that we belong from a country which has the potential of, retaining that much of people, but it's not true. It's definitely not true.
It's not. It
And
is not.
yeah, and the other thing is that concentration of population should be very much even. As you said, like the natural environment and the natural beauty that we have should not be any which way should not be, you know uh, what to say, no, deprived or should be cut down or should be
Affected
made.
by, yes,
Yeah. So
while making our progress happen.
yeah,
Very much so.
just because of our luxury, our lifestyle, we can't, malfunction with the environment that we have. So these are the things that I have really learned, and I would suggest the people out there to implement also. I think that's the very nice thing that I have figured out, that with every podcast, I would like to make a conclusion that after this podcast, we have got this conclusion to find the solution of the problem that we have discussed. That would be a really good thing.
I love talking to you, Manishwini, and I feel that people start to take these things more seriously. People need
Yeah.
to start understanding that it is much serious than we think it is. It is uh, we are very close to the point where there will be no turning point. So if I start to get technical about it, there is a lot much which cannot be uh, comprehended in a podcast.
Hmm.
But first and the basic thing that everyone needs to start is start looking for the clear signs. Start thinking that what is happening and start having conversations around it. Get curious. Get that basic level of curiosity in your mind that if this is happening, why this is happening, and what are the reasons, how we are kind of promoting this to happen, what is our particular path, and then ask the right questions to right people. Like I have started this uh, foundation, Green Guru Youth Foundation,
Hmm.
where we educate the youth and children about these climate issues, and we talk about different issues related pertaining to climate. Uh, we go to schools and we talk to the children in the most informal way possible, so that they start to at least think beyond what they are studying right now. Because
Hmm.
what they are studying is just half story. What is happening is even bigger than that. So it is very much needed. Uh, I feel that if someone who wants to be a part of our community, especially from children and youth, children means from the age of like 12 to 18, and youth means from the age limits like 18 35, and I am more than happy if even beyond that age limit people want to have awareness about these issues. Please be a part of the community, understand these, and we are also helping that how they can ask the right questions at right platforms. We
Yeah.
are helping them in understanding what are different levels of policies that are happening, what are the different constituencies which are involved, what are the different policymakers or regulators that are involved. So our aim is to bring that awareness in this space. And
Mhm.
thank you for having me. Thank you for talking about it. I hope more and more people talk about it because it is not a one person's job. It is not a like a million person's job. It is everyone's job to
Everyone's
talk
job.
about this.
Yeah. Also, the last thing that you have said, that the think tanks and the people like you, organizations like you, has to be the torch barrier of these kind of things, like about the decision making and policy making, because the government's work is just to implement that. The main ideas have
The,
to be come from you only.
the bigger issue, I feel like with the government also, I'll not blame them completely for this thing.
Hmm.
Reason being, Uh, unluckily and unfortunately, the people who are creating these policies are also not aware about a lot of issues. So one big change which I expect from government is uh, to get more and more people on board who have the first-hand experience in these areas, who understand these policies more delicately, and who also understand the ecosystem of our country. Because if I just understand that okay what needs to be done, but I don't understand with how it needs to be done, it can never be implemented. If
Hmm.
I today go to Sikkim and tell them okay you do this and not do this, they will never gonna listen to my conversations.
Yeah.
I have to involve them. They are equal stakeholders. I have to involve their knowledge, how they have been doing it for years. And then I have to make, not make, I have to suggest them those changes, that these changes can be made in this and this way. Please do what you want to do with this consciousness that tomorrow we are going to be in the same situation again. Government is doing this with this perspective, and if you can help us in this, then only we will be able to do something successful. That integration, that bringing all the stakeholders to same platform is very very much needed.
Needed.
If someone who's living there from decades, that person has way more knowledge than me of that ecosystem, how so technical and scientific I might be. Uh, I'm sorry to say I'm a technical person. I have done my engineering and I have done my MBA also. But still, I feel scientists, whatsoever we have been doing, there is we solve one problem and we create two more. So I feel that integration of indigenous knowledge as well as the scientific approach is the only way out of this situation. And for that, government need to have more such people on board for these policies and regulations who are aware of both the aspects and then make those decisions,
Yeah.
because it cannot happen one way. It cannot, like someone who's sitting at a level and not even aware about the base level make some policies, it will never going to penetrate to the bottom level. And
Hmm.
that is what is the issue right now. Policies, few of the policies are great, but have they reached to the real base levels? No, they haven't. So
Absolutely.
that's what is needed right now.
So thank you so much, Pooja, for giving all this kind of valuable words and the perspective to our viewers. I'm sure this is gonna really help a lot of people to firstly understand about the problems that are ongoing and the solutions that one can sort of implement on. So thank you so much. And anything which I can do or people like us we can do will definitely be very much happy to help out to you and the organization that you're working in. So yeah, you we are just open for that. So yeah, thank you so much again, and hope we can do a podcast similar like this in the near future. Maybe in on-site, not like in this setup, Zoom setup.
I
Yeah,
would love to do that because that will be more natural and organic.
natural. Yeah, definitely.
Actually, yeah. Yeah.
So,
So, and I just hope that people start to talk about it. And one thing, even other than organization, I feel that just rethink your choices. Every time you are making any choice, just rethink that what I'm doing is right or wrong. And it can be as small as using a plastic, conserving energy, just think about it that whether this LED, even the LED bulb I'm leaving on, is required or not. If it is not, don't do that. Just start that with that consciousness with every choice that you are making, how it is going to affect me and environment. Because ultimately, from these small choices, it keeps building up to the bigger choices,
hmm,
and it affects. And we don't know how we're gonna actually put this example right forward. So if you are carrying a simple cloth bag for your grocery shopping, it is going to motivate few others also to do the same. So just rethink these choices, start to like question your own perceptions, start to ask the right questions is the basic thing that everyone can do. And with these small movements, there will be for sure a lot of momentum that will come through. Because once we start to align our consciousness, great things happen.
yeah, that's when magic happens. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you so much again. And
Thank
with
you.
this, we would like to just end up this conversation. It has been really helpful to our viewers and especially for me to get another perspective of the problems that are ongoing regarding the climate change and the energy perspective and the environment. So yeah, we'll definitely do a lot of other conversations related to this. I'll make sure about. So again, thank you so much, and we'll see someday that we would be able to do an on-site podcast, definitely. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.